What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Izzy, welcoming you back to another video. Today we are going to be talking about the team of the season so far, and we are going to talk about some of the other things that we found interesting so far, such as the games of the season, and I'm going to talk about my player of the season so far. But if you're new to the channel, you already know what to do. Hit that like and the subscribe button to let YouTube and everybody else know that you are enjoying this content. To everybody else that is new, thank you so much for joining us. Please support the channel. Thank you so much. We are inching very closer to that 100 subscriber mark, and I will need your help to do it. So thank you for everybody who supported the channel so far. Now let's get into the video. So in this video, my goal is not to necessarily choose the best player in that position, but to go for the player that is the most indispensable to a team in that position. So that's what I'm going to try to do. The first person that's going to be making it into our team of the season so far is going to be Alisson Becker. Now, Liverpool's goalkeeper is amongst the best goalkeepers in the world, in my opinion, and in the opinion of a lot of pundits, the best goalkeeper in the Premier League. And it is bearing fruit by the fact that Liverpool are top of the table and are the best defensive team. Alisson is a huge shot stopper, and the reason why I have him in this team is because I think that Liverpool need this guy. He is indispensable to what makes Liverpool what they are right now. And part of the reason why everybody is going to make it into this list is because I'm not going to be looking at, in particular, their ability to be the best player in the world, but most importantly, their indispensability to the team. And I believe that Alisson exemplifies that. Kelleher has deputized for him before in the Cup and in the Premier League. And we do tend to see a little bit of a drop off because the team is just so much more comfortable when they have Alisson in the back line. And he is going to be my addition as their goalkeeper. Now, as far as his understudy, I'm going to be having Martinez from Aston Villa. Now, Martinez has been integral to what Aston Villa have been able to do for the last 2 years, as well as what Argentina has been able to do. He is a stalwart for country and for club. His ability to put off opponents by trash talking and his histrionics on the line make him an indispensable cog in what is Aston Villa's title charge so far this season, or we remain to see whether it is a title charge, but most importantly, what they wanted to do, which is a top 4 finish. So that is our goalkeeping lineup for this team so far. Now, we go into defense. I'm going to start at right back, and I think this choice is pretty much self-explanatory. Trent Alexander-Arnold has been very good for Liverpool. Now, we have seen some games where Jurgen Klopp has used him in midfield and do a very good job, because we all know that Liverpool have had their midfield woes so far, trying to revitalize what was this great midfield that had Henderson, Fabinho, in recent times. But I think that Alexander-Arnold has been very good. Why? Because he has been able to contribute to 2 goals and 3 assists, all of which have been very important. And you cannot imagine Liverpool's attack or defense without Trent Alexander-Arnold's input and his ability to put out defense-splitting passes, as well as helping out the midfield whenever Liverpool need it. I think he is indispensable to what they've been able to do so far. And in as far as his defensive ability not being capable of holding off opponents as well as he probably should, he has proven that he is very, very good when he is on his day. And so I think that he is my choice for right back so far. And as his understudy, we're going to be having Kyle Walker. Now, normally Kyle Walker would be my choice, but you would see that Liverpool have had the best defense so far this season. Manchester City are not too far off. They've only conceded 21 goals. So that tells you that Manchester City's defense is very good. But the reason why Kyle Walker pales in contrast to Trent Alexander-Arnold so far this season is because whenever you look at what Liverpool have been able to do and the defensive solidity that they have built themselves on, it has been supplemented a whole lot by the fact that Liverpool have a very good attack. And I think Trent Alexander-Arnold is way more indispensable to what Liverpool are doing so far than what Kyle Walker is able to do. Now, Kyle Walker is still a great athlete, and that's the reason why he is the substitute for me on this team. But I do think that between the two, Trent Alexander-Arnold has shown a little bit more and has recovered the form that we knew that he always had from a couple of seasons ago, or in their title-winning squad of 2019-2020. So that is going to be our right back lineup. as far as central defense, where you could have had notably a lot of names in here. But my first choice is going to be William Saliba, simply because Saliba has been immense for Arsenal. We saw what his absence was able to do to the team last season as they crumbled as they tried to get their first Premier League trophy since 2004. We've seen so far that this season, Arsenal for a long time had been tied with Liverpool as the best defense, having gone through a bit of a tough time in the last couple of games, but William Saliba has always still been a very, very important person in this team. You cannot see Arsenal's team without Saliba whatsoever, and the quality drop-off once you have to go into the people who are in the substitutes bench, such as Kivior, is very apparent. It is important for Arsenal to keep this guy fit all the way through the season, or else they will continue to drop if they don't have this very talented defender in their ranks. As far as the person that I'm going to choose as his substitute, I'm going to have Pau Torres. I think that Pau Torres has been very good for Aston Villa, and you would think that his inclusion in this is a little bit fortuitous, and it was because an injury to Tyrone Mings at the start of the season was part of the reason why Pau Torres found himself into the Aston Villa team. But since he has, Aston Villa have gone from strength to strength. They have been challenging so far at the top end of the table and look a very good bet so far for top four. If they're able to keep this guy fit and his partnership in central defense with Diego Carlos continues as it does, well, Aston Villa can go very, very far. So he is my pick as the substitute for William Saliba. Now, on the other side of defense, I am going to have none other than Virgil van Dijk. And now this is going to be a recurrent theme so far, is that Liverpool's defense has been very good. Admittedly, they've only conceded 18 goals so far this season. They have been very good, and Van Dijk has been everything that has made them very good. His defensive organization, his ability to close down defenders is now showing his skill and making him very reminiscent of the guy that Liverpool first signed in 2018 and the person who brought them their first Premier League trophy in 30 years. So Virgil van Dijk is going to be the person who is going to partner William Saliba. But who is going to be the substitute for Virgil van Dijk? Well, I had toyed with Van der Ven because of his very good performances for Tottenham, and he would have made this team possibly if he would have kept on playing a lot longer despite his injury. But the person that I chose is going to be Ruben Diaz. Much similar to what Van Dijk is for Liverpool, his organization at the back is unquestionable, and sometimes you cannot see Manchester City without Ruben Diaz. He has been the one very constant defender that has made them very good over the last couple of seasons, and the fact that his season has kind of gone under the radar should tell you how good they've been. Now, Manchester City, yes, have lost a lot more games than they normally do, and they did go through that rough patch, but Ruben Diaz has always been an important player for them. And right now, Manchester City seem as though they're going back on the up and up, and you know that this is the time that you tend to see them come into their own. I cannot see Manchester City's team without Ruben Diaz, and you will be surprised by some of my other choices coming up front, but in defense, I think he is indispensable to what they have done so far. Now, next we go to left back. Left back was a little bit of a challenge for me, but the person that I was most impressed with is going to be Tottenham's Udogie. Now, I think this man has been very, very good. Udogie has unquestionably made Tottenham so much better going forward. Now, defensively speaking, Tottenham have been very questionable so far this season, simply because their high line tends to put them at the mercy of a lot of teams who, when they are able to break through the offside, are able to put them to the sword. But Udogie has been adapting very well into the Premier League so far, and he seems to be playing very well in Ange Postecoglou's revolution so far. I think that he has been the best left back so far, and I was having a little bit of a challenge trying to find somebody who would be his understudy, and most notably, I think that Tsimikas from Liverpool would do a very good substitute role when he's playing in my team. I think that Tsimikas has shown his ability to cover for Andy Robertson, who has been injured for most part of this season, and I think his performances so far before the injury he got when he played against Arsenal were very, very good. And for the fact that Liverpool are challenging and have the best defense so far in the league is the reason why I am going to have him as Udogie's understudy. And then over to my midfield combo. So I am going to be going for a 4-2-3-1. A little bit defensive if you think about it, but I had to put these two defensive stalwarts in my team. Number one, unquestionable, is going to be Rodri. We have seen what Manchester City are without Rodri. They tend to not play very well. And so far, they have lost all their games in which Rodri has not played in the Premier League. So Rodri is indispensable to this team. His ability to read defensive plays and his ability to also start Manchester City's attacks goes unnoticed. Only until this season have we seen just how integral he is to this team. And like I said, the reason why I put a lot of these people in this team is because I believe that they are indispensable to the team. Now, some other players elevate the team that they play in, but I think that Rodri is very, very descriptive of the fact that if he does not play, Manchester City are just not the same. I'm going to have him as one part of my defensive cog. The other person who is going to be his substitute is going to be Yves Bissouma, who has turned out some very good performances for Tottenham so far. Now, he has gotten the odd red card, and that should tell you a little bit of the haphazard way that Tottenham play. Sometimes he needs to make those challenges because Tottenham can get overrun if they push too much in attack. Now, his ability to also quell those attacks is very, very good. He has also helped them going forward a lot this season, and I think that despite his red cards, he has been a very, very good addition to the team. He was pretty much put to the wayside when Antonio Conte was the manager of Tottenham, and I think that he has taken the challenge that he had from that season and has superseded it so far this season. This is part of the reason why Tottenham have been very, very good so far. Now, on the other side of my defensive cog, I am going to have Declan Rice. Declan Rice has been immense for Arsenal so far. Of course, it's been soured by his last two performances, or Arsenal's last two performances in general, which have been absolutely abysmal. But hitherto, he had been very, very good for Arsenal. Now, I do think that if you probably lined up somebody like Thomas Partey right next to him, or somebody else who can allow him to move forward and possibly explore his other abilities, then maybe he might be a little bit more effectual. But I think so far his performances this season have shown why Arsenal paid £105 million for him and why he is going to be extremely important for Arsenal moving forward. Part of the reason why he's in this is because you cannot see what Arsenal would have been doing without him so far this season. He's been playing very well, save for the last two games. Now, as his understudy, I am going to have Douglas Luiz. Douglas Luiz has been immense for Aston Villa so far. He is part of the reason why Aston Villa have been so good going forward, as well as so good defensively. Now, you can tell why Arsenal are going for him because he's very good at reading defensive plays, and he is also very, very good going forward. He is also lethal at dead ball situations, and he has also contributed to a bunch of very good Aston Villa performances. You cannot see what Aston Villa would be doing without him so far this season, and that is why he is my pick for the understudy for Declan Rice. And then over to attack, without any question. When you go to your right-sided midfield, I have Mohamed Salah. Mohamed Salah has been very good. You can argue that Jared Bowen, the likes of Kulusevski, could also get a shout for this. But the reason why I put him there is because you cannot fathom what Liverpool would be without Mohamed Salah. Well, we are going to be able to see that because for the next month, he is going to be going to Africa for the AFCON tournament. And they are definitely going to miss him. So far, he has contributed to 14 league goals, the joint top scorer in the league. And you cannot think of Liverpool and what they would have been able to do so far this season without this man in attack. His ability to just continuously knock balls where they need to go, his jinxing and dribbling ability is unmatched so far. And now he has over 150 Premier League goals and is showing why he is going to be one of the Premier League's all-time legends. Now, as his understudy, I have Jared Bowen. His 11 goals have been very, very good for West Ham, and his ability to go and make sure that he dominates the opposition so far this season has been very good. He has helped West Ham to no limit, and you cannot imagine where West Ham would be without his 11 goals. This man is showing exactly why he had been an England hopeful for a while and why he might be able to make it into the tournament come the summer. What they have in that role in the right-handed side is very, very integral to what they've been able to do. And so far, they're sixth in the table. They are still challenging for Europe, and they're still challenging on three fronts. So Jared Bowen makes it as my understudy to Mohamed Salah. And then over to attacking midfield, although he has not really played there so much, I have Bernardo Silva, simply because I cannot see what Manchester City would be doing so far if they did not have this guy in their squad. Now, they have had a long-term injury to Kevin De Bruyne, which has hampered them so far, but he has filled in very, very capably. And the fact that Manchester City are still the top scorers in the league, and the fact that they still have him as a creator-in-chief, in addition to what Phil Foden can do, can tell you just why this man has carried the Silva mantle from David onto Bernardo. So beautiful is the ability for us to watch this man do what he does week in, week out. And he, in my opinion, is indispensable to what Manchester City have been able to do so far. There is one player you can always count on for Pep Guardiola to keep in this game so that he can keep his metronome ticking in midfield. It's always going to be Bernardo Silva. Now, as his understudy, I have Lucas Paqueta of West Ham. This man is an absolute joy to watch. And part of the reason why West Ham are successful is because of Lucas Paqueta. Now, he has just suffered an injury, which I hope doesn't keep him out of the competition for too much longer. But this man is very important to what they do. And it is going to be vitally important for them to hold on to him, because you saw that Manchester City had tried to nick him towards the end of the last transfer window. They might even try again in this January. And there are rumors that the likes of Liverpool were also sniffing around. So they will need to keep this man, keep him firing. And if they do, West Ham are a shoo-in for Europe next season. And then over on the other side, I have Heung-min Son. Heung-min Son is without question still one of the best players in the league. He has scored 12 goals so far this season, and despite the fact that they've lost Harry Kane, he has slotted into that central striker role every once in a while, and he's contributed very, very well. Now, I do have him on the left-hand side because I do think that that's where he is the most effectual. But if he was ever to be a central striker, he's shown that he has the ability to do it with 12 league goals. His combination with Kulusevski on the other side and his ability to interplay with Udogie has just made that left-hand side for Tottenham so good. He kind of has shades of Thierry Henry with the way that he can drift onto the left-hand side, still come through into the middle and convert a lot of these chances. He is very good at interplay, and his love for Tottenham, despite him being a rival player for the other team, makes me really admire what he does for them. Now, it's going to be important when Maddison comes back for this guy, because I think it'll free him up a little bit more and reduce his creative output, because he won't have to concentrate on that as much. But his all-round ability makes him indispensable to Tottenham, and that is why I cannot think of anybody else that I would have as a Tottenham player right now. And then his understudy, I'm going to have Leon Bailey, another Aston Villa person. Leon Bailey has been very good so far this season. He has chipped in with 6 Premier League goals, and I think that his attacking output has been very important for Aston Villa. Part of the reason why they are challenging up at the top of the table. I do think that his goals have been extremely important so far to what Aston Villa have done so far this season, and I cannot fathom what Aston Villa would do without that triad that they have, where they have Douglas Luiz and they have Leon Bailey, and over in attack they have Ollie Watkins. Which brings me to my striking role. Now, I am going to cause a little bit of controversy. Everybody would probably have Erling Haaland, but I do think that his absence through injury has shown us that Manchester City could kind of do without him, at least for this phase. I do think that he undoubtedly elevates what they are able to do, but I do think that they have somebody in Julian Alvarez who is capable of slotting in and doing a very good job at the same time. Also, Manchester City are a team that are full of very talented individuals, and they can easily find somebody who can go through that middle and possibly cover for him. Now, at the top end, it might be hard to see them play without him, and any team would always have Erling Haaland, but I do think that there are some people who have been indispensable to their team, and that is why I am choosing Dominic Solanke as my striker. I think that his 12 goals for Bournemouth have been able to take him from relegation sure shots to just comfortable of mid-table. And Iraola would not want to sell this person for anything. I think he is extremely important to what Bournemouth have done this season, and I think that his importance to Bournemouth supersedes Manchester City's need for Erling Haaland, at least in the short term. As far as so far this season, he is going to be my pick for the striker. And then as far as his understudy, I have Wang Hee-chan, who has scored 10 goals for Wolves. And much in the same vein, I think his importance to Wolves cannot be understated. Wolves were, for many people, the team that was going to be first to go down, alongside Luton and Burnley and Sheffield United. But this guy has been able to chip in with 10 very important goals in very, very crucial games. And that is why Wolves have kept on surging up the table and a team that now looks as though they can even challenge for Europe. Now, some people might sit back and say, well, you know, Erling Haaland has also scored 14 goals and 14 important goals, and he keeps on showing he is the best striker. But one of the things that I wanted to go for in this video was not to go for somebody who is the best at his position necessarily, but I want to go for somebody who is indispensable. And I do think that these two strikers are indispensable for their teams at the moment. And I think you will see that with Wolves, because Wang Hee-chan is going to South Korea and is going to be going to the Asian Cup. So time might prove me wrong, or it might prove me right. Now, as far as the people who are going to be managing this team, without a doubt, it's going to be Unai Emery. Unai Emery is the manager of the season so far for me. His ability to organize his team very well defensively, and you have to just look back at the Manchester City game where this man showed an attacking intent that we have never seen against a Manchester City squad, let alone a Pep Guardiola team, where they absolutely peppered Manchester City. And that game should have easily ended 3 or 4-0 because Aston Villa were just that good. Now, the latter part of the season is going to show us who the real McCoy is and whether they're going to be able to hold up. But I do have a lot of confidence in this man because he has rode through a lot of challenges, and winning 15 games in a row at home is nothing to be sniffed at. So he is going to be my pick for manager of the season. Right below him, the other person who I think is going to be his assistant manager is going to be Gary O'Neill. I've been extremely complimentary of this guy ever since the start of the season. Some of the performances that Wolves have been able to put up have been exemplary. You have to go back to his Manchester United game where they were very unlucky to not get a point out of that game after a very dominant display at Old Trafford. And they proved that when they faced Manchester City and became the first team to beat them, not only just take points away from them. And then a little bit after that, they managed to beat Chelsea, and they also lost narrowly to Liverpool after what was a very good performance up until right around the 70th minute, where they seemed to just have collapsed a little bit. But they also went ahead and beat Tottenham, and they also went and kind of showed themselves to be very worthy competitors against all the other teams that are in and around the top 6. So I have Gary O'Neill as my assistant manager for this team. Now we're going to go to my favorite games of the season. And you will not be surprised, because they are the entertainers of the league, that Manchester City feature in all 3 of them. So in third, I have Manchester City against Tottenham. This game was a 3-3 draw. It had everything. You thought that Tottenham were going to nick it at some point. Manchester City looked sure shots to win it at some point, and then you had Dejan Kulusevski, who went on and equalized almost at the death of the game. It was a beautiful game to watch, and that was my number 3 game of the season so far. And then my number 2 game of the season so far is Manchester City yet again, when they went to Aston Villa. Now, never have we seen a team pepper a Pep Guardiola team as much as Aston Villa did. They had somewhere in the region of 22 shots. That game was beautiful, much in the same way that we have seen some other teams come up against Manchester City and put in good defensive displays and get a result. This one was a game where they put in a good defensive display and absolutely shellacked them when it came to attack. Never have we heard people speak about a team in such glowing terms after we had seen this Aston Villa team take on Pep Guardiola. Their 1-0 victory might not have reflected what that game was as far as the result goes, but this was one of the best attacking displays we have ever seen in the Premier League against such a dominant team. And then my favorite game so far this season is going to be Manchester City's away draw against Chelsea. That game was a 4-all draw that had everything. Chelsea were very good in this game. Defensively, we saw why they're not that good, though, because they ended up conceding 4 goals. But their tenacity in trying to keep on with Manchester City was rewarded at the end when Cole Palmer was able to put in that penalty, which made the game 4-4. And at that point, Chelsea fans were pretty much, very buoyant. They were looking on to a season that would probably kick on from that point. Now, it never really did that, but it was an exhilarating game and one that kept us on the edge of our seats. And even when Manchester City went 4-3 up, we always had a thought in our head that Rodri goal was not going to be the last goal in that game. And eventually they did get their equalizer, one which they fully deserved. And Cole Palmer was able to snatch a point for the Blues. Now, as far as the goal of the season, it goes to none other than Alejandro Garnacho of Manchester United. This guy is one of the only shining lights that Manchester United have had so far this season. He is exemplifying everything that Manchester United need to be in youthful exuberance. And he showed it in this very wonderful goal that had everything. It had class, it had skill, and it flew in the face of a very hostile away crowd that Everton were trying to build up right after they had just gotten their 10-point deduction. And it spurred Manchester United on to a 3-0 victory. But most importantly, it was compared to Wayne Rooney's very beautiful overhead kick against Manchester City, which, yes, was against more storied opponents, was in a much more heated rivalry and much more heated game. But that takes nothing away from the fact that this is one of the best Premier League goals ever. And so that is going to be my goal of the season. As far as player of the season, it goes to none other than Mo Salah. I think that this player is everything that every Premier League player and hopeful would want to be. He is what Liverpool have wanted for such a long time, in a messianic figure who was able to bring the Premier League title alongside that very, very good lineup that had Mane, Firmino, and Salah himself. And he has now scored 150 Premier League goals. He is in very, very good company and is now a certified Premier League legend. Not only are his numbers bearing the fact that he was a very talented player when Chelsea first took a chance on him and bought him from Basel, and then eventually he went on to Fiorentina, rebuilt himself onto Roma, and then came into the Premier League and became one of Liverpool's most lethal attackers in the history of their club. So that is going to be my choice for player of the season so far. And I think that we will see just how important Mo Salah is to the team once he jets off to the AFCON, which should be taking place very soon. But anyway, guys, let me know what you think. Do you agree with my selections? Let's start a conversation down below. Do you think that some of the players I put in didn't deserve to be there? Do you think that some other players deserved a shout out? Let me know what you think down below. Let's get this channel to 100. We are so close. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for everything that you have been able to contribute so far on this channel. It's been your boy Izzy, and keep in touch because we are going to have the team of disappointment so far this season in my next video. It's your boy Izzy. Peace.